Our co-host here, the Admiral Bill Stubblefield. Good morning, sir.
Good morning again, Rob.
Hall of Famer Matt Miller.
Good morning.
And via telephone, our annual Rite of Spring guest, Peggy McKowen from the Contemporary American Theater Festival. Peggy, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you all?
Marvelous. It's wonderful to have you with us again. Anything different since last year when we spoke with you? Any changes? Life any different for you?
There are some things that are different, and there are many things that are similar, like us doing some good plays during July.
Absolutely. And I remember I ask you this question every year about the economic impact that the CATF has on Shepherdstown and surrounding areas. What are you anticipating for 2025?
Well, we are excited because we are starting to see a real return to the festival. You know, some people who didn't come before the who came before the pandemic, but maybe have not been here since. And so in terms of the economic impact, particularly, I hope that we will see more people here in Shepherdstown this summer. So we're excited about that. And I think we have a season that might have a little something for everybody.
Are you bringing back any actors or directors that we are familiar with from years past?
Well, so we're bringing back a playwright that people probably know from last season, Mark St. Germain, who wrote The Happiest Man on Earth, which was the play that was in the Opera House, is back with a play this summer called Magdalene. So people will recognize him. And we have a director coming named Stephen Dietz, who was here as a playwright for several plays. He wrote Yankee Tavern and On Clover Road and some things like that folks may remember. And we have not cast yet. I actually have the first round of callbacks for casting on Monday.
All right, very good. And what are the dates of the festival this year?
We open July 11th, and then we close on August 3rd. And, of course, we have previews prior to the 11th for about a week.
Very good. And is one of those a free preview?
Yes. Well, it's a, donate whatever you will.
Give as you can.
Yeah.
Very good. Let's talk about the plays that you have this year. I see 5 on your homepage. Is that the accurate count?
That is correct.
Okay. Are they all going to be equally seen, or do you have some that are in a shorter term run?
They're all running the same amount of time. We do have, 2 shows in rep and 2 of the spaces. So each show has 4 or 5 performances, but it's running through the whole summer. They're all running this whole summer. All
right. Let's tackle them as they appear on your homepage here, catf.org. So Happy Fall, a Queer Stunt Spectacular. What does that even mean?
Yes.
Help me out on this one.
So this is a big, epic, sprawling play that's a lot of fun and is set on a movie in a movie studio where they're filming a movie. And this is really about the stunt industry. And so there are big stunts. There is a high fall, which is the most dangerous stunt you can do. And the high fall is actually a metaphor for the love story that happens in this play. And it's an intergenerational love story between 2 men in the stunt industry. And one of the things that's very interesting about their journey is that the older stuntman came through the industry at a time when it was not safe to express your orientation. And this younger stunt person is coming through the industry at a time when it's much more acceptable. So this creates a lot of tension in their relationship and what happens in the industry and on the film set. So that's the center of it, but it is this amazing adventure into the world of the stunt people of Hollywood.
And this is a world premiere?
Yes. We did a sorry, I can't speak today. We did a developmental piece last summer in LA with a company called Rogue Artists Ensemble and the LGBTQ Center there. and this is the first fully realized production.
And it's also based on true events, is it not?
Yes, it is. The playwright, Lisa Sanea Drang, interviewed stunt people to create the work.
Very good. By the way, I watched The Fall Guy, that Ryan Gosling movie.
Yes.
Just this past weekend. I hadn't seen it before. That was pretty cool, I got to say. Did you see that movie?
Well, if you appreciated the stunt, sort of the insider view of the stunt world, there'll be a lot of that in this play.
Yeah, and then how do you pull off stunts on a stage? I mean, obviously you can't do like barrel rolls with the car, or cannon rolls with the car, or anything like that.
Well,
uh-oh.
we're not probably going to have a car on stage, but we are definitely doing some really large-scale fights. There's a moment in the play that something goes wrong with one of the stunts, and then there's a moment when things go right with the stunts. There's definitely falls. There's definitely rolls downstairs. There is some discussion about fire. We'll see if we're going to do that or not. But also a lot of it is about filming and cinematography. So some of it you'll see in cinematography as well.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question. I'll be careful how I frame it. In the current environment, are you concerned about putting on a play called Happy Fall, a Queer Stunt Spectacular?
I wouldn't say I'm concerned. I would say I'm curious.
Okay.
Because, we've been working on this play for a while, and I think it's a very compelling story. I think people will relate to the idea of how you make a relationship work. Even though you may be very much in love, there are often factors that make it impossible for that relationship to work. And so I think the story is relevant to all, and I hope that people will come with that kind of thought. And, our mission as artists is to tell stories that we hope will invite people into a conversation and engage in a discussion. And so I am hoping that that's the way people come to the theater.
With all of the stunts and so much going on, is this one of the most elaborate plays that you've put on?
Yes.
I love your laugh.
Yes, in fact, we have hired a stunt special effects action coordinator who has a studio in New York who is working with us and training the actors. We have a fight choreographer that will be part of the experience, and then we are planning to do a few days prior to the actual beginning of rehearsal to have stunt workshops and kind of a stunt boot camp for the actors in the ensemble, because they will have to do a lot.
Moving on to the next play on your list, Magdalene by the previously mentioned Mark St. Germain on this. What's this play about?
This is a conversation between Mary and Peter, and it's 18 years after the crucifixion of Christ. And Peter has been approached by some people with a lot of money to help build a church, among other things. And so he is going to Mary to seek out advice. And, of course, he is the one that cast Mary out right after the death of Christ. And so she's not real happy to see him. And it's a really great conversation between the two of them that really explores how they remember things and what is true to them, and how that fits within their world today, 18 years later. So it's a really interesting back and forth conversation.
And
it's very funny. It's actually very funny.
Is it a comedy?
I wouldn't call it a comedy, but I would say that you will laugh. You will laugh out loud sometimes, because Mary is particularly sharp and witty and quick.
Very good. Kevin Kling's Unraveled.
So Kevin Kling is a well-known storyteller in the storytelling world. He also has done a lot of work on PBS, and he does some stuff for NPR. And he has written a piece that is a hybrid between storytelling and the theatrical experience. And so he is really telling his journey as an artist with a disability and how that perspective has really helped him see the world in a different way. And it's very positive and very loving. He has a musician on stage with him that is part of the experience too. So there's music, and it's just a beautiful kind of understanding of how people can see the world from different perspectives.
Very good. Now, I'm going to skip.
And also I'm going to mention he is extremely funny. So people will really enjoy this because he's a great entertainer.
Side effects may include by Lisa Loomer. Why is that name familiar, Peggy?
So Lisa Loomer was with us in our very first season in 1991. So she's back to CATF with her newest play. Right now, as we speak, she is previewing Real Women Have Curves, which is a new musical on Broadway. And so she will be here right after that, goes up to do this new play of hers, which is based on a true life experience that she has been having with her own son. And her son actually asked her to write this play so that his story could be told. And his story is one about pursuing some mental wellness and seeing a psychiatrist in his early 20s and being prescribed with certain medication. And as the story unfolds, we find out that he has been prescribed so many different medications and seeing so many different people because eventually we learn that he has akathisia, which is a neurological disorder that happens when you have a genetic code in response to certain medications.
And the final one, and this one really has my interest, Did My Grandfather Kill My Grandfather? An Unlikely Vietnam War Story by Cody Leroy Wilson.
Yes. So we're really excited to produce this play. You know, over the years, we have wanted to have some West Virginia writers here and have some people tell their story. So this is really a dream coming to fruition in some ways. So Cody grew up in West Virginia, but his mother is Vietnamese, and she was adopted as a baby during the Vietnam War. And so Cody grew up in West Virginia and grew up in a, entirely white and white rural community. And he sort of learned later in life about his sort of Vietnamese ethnicity. And so this is his story, sort of just understanding what it was to be both of those things. And the thing that I really love about his storytelling is that he has such love for his family here in West Virginia. And he is so grateful to the way they have raised him and supported him and helped him also connect with his Vietnamese heritage.
Now, does the play focus on that subject of did my grandfather kill my grandfather? Or is that just the overarching theme of how a person who is Vietnamese and American mixes through life?
It doesn't necessarily focus on that. It does talk about the Vietnam War a bit, but it really is a moment of discovery for him in the play because, at a certain age, he learns that his grandfather here in West Virginia fought in the war, and he also learns that he had family in Vietnam. And he has a moment where he thinks, is it possible? Did my grandfather here kill my grandfather in Vietnam? And so it's kind of a moment of realization that maybe that could have happened. But as I said, what is great about it is that there's no resentment about that. Sorry, that was my computer. Mm-hmm. He's just asking questions, and he's just learning about it. And he is, as I said, incredibly loving about the environment and family that he came from.
Pretty deep subject matter for a kid to have to deal with, though.
It is, and what's interesting as he tells the story is the various stages of his life, from being in kindergarten through high school and later, about the different things that sort of stuck with him or that he learned. And that is part of what makes the journey sort of fascinating, is how he grows into the understanding of who he is.
Matt Miller.
Peggy, how do you kind of choose these 5 plays for this year? Are you looking for something in particular as you go into a new year? And I know this is a lengthy process to choose these 5, but what kind of goes into it, or how do they maybe jump off the page at you that you say, we've got to do this one?
There are a number of factors. When I start the process, there's more flexibility because I haven't picked anything else yet. Mm-hmm. And so in the beginning, I narrow it down to those plays that just really speak to me in some way, right? That compel a real response and introduce me to things that I haven't thought about, or things that I didn't know, or help me question things. So those plays that just really create a sense of curiosity and wonder, but also have a great theatrical impact, are the ones that stay on my short list. And then I have to figure out how we can produce a combination of them because, for example, there is a budget for how many actors we can afford to have. And so I have to then look at how many people are in each show, and if we do this show with this many people, we have to do a show with this many people, and sort of puzzle about how it fits into the budget, how it will work in terms of the different theater spaces, and how we can actually manage to produce the work in the time that we have. So all those things start to factor into the combination of plays in any given season.
Peggy, Bill Stubblefield, I've always been impressed with CATF's willingness to take on controversial subjects. Subjects a lot of time I think folks would prefer just to look the other way, but CATF have faced them. Looking at these titles and reading a little synopsis about each one, seems like you've not only carried on the tradition of facing controversial subjects, both cultural, religious, and the like, but actually taken a step farther than what we have in the past. Is that a correct assessment?
That's interesting. Well, I don't know if I feel like I've taken a step farther, but I'm really. It is definitely a mission of mine to uphold the purpose of CATF in that way. I think that having a place where people know that they can come to hear these kinds of stories, and we offer all of these talk theater events around the stories because we want people to feel like they can engage in conversation around them, is a really important opportunity in our society. And so I do want to uphold that vision for the festival, and I don't pick the plays thinking, oh, this is really going to push the envelope. Maybe instinctively, somehow that seems like it's happening, but I didn't pick them in that way. But I did pick them because I believe that they are conversations that are relevant to all the things that are happening to us in the world right now.
Yeah, last year or so, you've picked up another venue for your plays, and that's been the old Opera House, which contrasts greatly from, say, the Frank Center, which is much larger. Old Opera House is much closer, up closer to the stage and the like. As you're looking through the plays to select, do you take the planned venue, in consideration at all?
Absolutely. That's part of the puzzle, right? Because the Frank Center, for example, is so big in scale that trying to put a small, intimate piece in there just doesn't really work. And so I have to find something there that I think will have the kind of scope and size that makes that feel like people are in a really great experience in the Frank Center, theatrical experience. And that's very different from being in the Opera House, which is so intimate and which has, its own kind of feeling even of being in the theater there. And so, yes, absolutely.
Now, of these 5, which one do you have targeted for the Frank Center and which one for the Old Opera House?
Okay, so Happy Fall will be in the Frank Center. Magdalene and Kevin Kling Unraveled will be in rep in the Marinoff. And Side Effects may include and Did My Grandfather Kill My Grandfather will be in rep in Studio 112.
Peggy, great to have you on the program today. Thank you so much. Where can we go to get tickets and season passes?
CATF.org, and our box office is open Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday from 11 to 5, in addition to being able to buy tickets online.
Thank you so much. Always great to talk with you and to hear your laugh.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me on.
It's a pleasure.
Peggy.
Thank you. Peggy McKowen from the Contemporary American Theater Festival. Appreciate her time on the program this morning.